Good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome to you. Welcome. My name is Costa, and I'll be offering you guys a Gene Keys live reading today. So in the chat, if you just want to maybe put down your name, where you're coming from, what's going to happen today, I'll just go through a brief presentation. It'll probably last not more than like 5-10 minutes, and then those of you who are coming in onto Zoom will get first billing, priority first, and then we can get going. And also, if you just want to just maybe mention the chat, hey Becky, if how long you've been with the Gene Keys, and if you want to just have a think about what questions you want to ask in the process, so that we can help unlock that and see what flows from that. So today we're going to do a Gene Keys free live reading. So we'll start with myself. So my name is Costa. So I'm a Gene Keys guide ambassador. I've been with this teaching for about over 7 years. This came to me through mum, in fact. Growing up, I had some, I was going through some relational issues when I was back in Australia, in Sydney, in fact, and I was looking at trying to amend a relationship, and this book came to me via an email, and I saw those 2 words, Gene Keys, that stood out for me. And in the process, I ended up ordering the book, and something restrained me to really quicken the process. It was more like, just give it time. I felt there was like many treasures in this work, and so I put it to rest and went to bed. And I got woken up in the middle of the night with this word drop, and I didn't understand what that meant. So I ended up saying out loud the word drop, and by doing so, I ended up starting to receive these codes, unlocking sort of like a letting go. And I kept repeating the word drop, and every time I would do so, I'd feel this wave of numbers, of binary codes, like 0 and 1s, just coming off of me like a download. And I woke up in the morning feeling totally and completely safe and secure in the 4 walls of my bedroom. And so this and other things started to open up to me, and I had this sort of aura coming up in the process that that made me want to just be sort of feeling in this tender state. And this tender state was one that I didn't want to be disturbed by anybody else, because I felt that their energies would pollute the aura that was coming through to me, and I felt like I was being lifted and supported by a very comforting energy, like I was on pillows and cushions, and I was just on this softening process. So this and other things led to me on a path to other transformations in the process, and I realized in the long run it was more of a transformation taking place within me, and it was being confirmed on the outside as an epiphany. And so it then led me onto the path of the Gene Keys, and going through its many programs with the Golden Path, which is the core of this work, in fact, and other sort of nuances that came through with other programs along the way. And I ended up working them for a couple of years, and now I'm looking to expand and help other people in the process so they can live out their potentials. So it's one thing to question it, it's quite another to live out the question. So let's see if we can bring some of that magic here today. So as you're well aware, there are many things that seem to be unstable, whether it's in our psyche, in our mental condition, physical or emotional, but also what we see on the outside. Institutions are starting to break down, and it's a no-brainer that something new is coming into the world, or something needs to shift and change. And this is what the Gene Keys offers, is a new way of seeing things, and an agent for change, so that we can enhance the quality and state of our consciousness. And so with DNA, our DNA is not what we thought it was, and one of the layers within the Gene Keys offers you what was termed codon rings. I'm no scientist, by the way, but within codon rings, it's a way of looking at it from a scientific point of view, but also seeing the relations with other keys that come into this. And our DNA is not predetermined. We can shift it and we can change it through our attitude. And so by means of this, we can look at it through a new way, through seeing the DNA as portals of awakening and to see into new dimensions and expressions of life that we may not have ever attained or even dreamed upon, but they are lying latent within us. And so this is the scope of what the properties of DNA can offer us: new information, new ways of looking at it from a poetic science view, such as the founder of this work, Richard Rudd, who is seen as a poet, and this work is seen as one of poetry coming back into the one, like the one universe. Just like the word universe it's a universe, it's a one verse. And so we can also see this as an open system. There's no limitations to it, and it will. There are no boundaries behind this. So forever we are changing. Our bodies are always changing. Our environment is always changing. Everything is governed by movement, and so we are evolving. And the prophecy of the Gene Keys, if you look at it that way, is to see things in as a new human coming to mind. A new human is going to be reborn, and that starts with ourselves as we learn to work on ourselves and our inner work. So there is the DNA codon wheel that was discovered back in the late 50s, and it was seen as a wheel with different combinations and numbers and letters, A, T, C, G. And then we also have the ancient Chinese astrology wheel, seen by some as the Book of Changes. The Taoists used it in a way of guiding and flowing with life. And there have been research been done to show that when you put these two together, it assimilates as one, meaning that if you can unlock what's in the ancient I Ching, you can unlock what's in our DNA. And this is exactly what the keys of the Gene Keys have done. And so we have these 64 numbers rooted in physics and mathematics, but we see them everywhere around us, through archaeology, to maths, to chess, to even the positions of what we use in sex. We also see in Braille. So the number 64 is a magical number, one that we have forgotten because we see numbers these days as just factual information measurements, but we are missing the other side of it. And this is what I'm going to bring into today. So this number 64 can operate within as this whole universe, and that's where it's coming from. The tetrahedral, the number 8, which ends up being unfolded into 64 from the vacuum of the creation of the universe. So it's not something to be taken lightly. And so this number can be seen everywhere in our environment. And as such, we have the spectrum of consciousness. This operates behind and within as a framework of the Gene Keys. And it's a spectrum that goes from your shadow states to your highest potentials, known as the Siddhic realm. And the shadows, as you see here in red, is designed to offer you scope of what it can mean when you're operating in a challenge, in a fear-based modality. And these words can also offer you insights into what they mean to you on a deeper level. And the idea is just to comb and to release those layers. And so the gift is the bridge that acts between the two spectrums. And most human beings will lie between the shadow and the gift state. And then for a few individuals, we have the Siddhic realm. This is the highest divine essence, the quintessence, as it were. And there have been a few of us on this planet who've lived from this state and beyond. And the key thing here is to know that these states operate within us. And so that in the highest realms, they are there and they're just lying latent for them to be awakened. And so we just don't know how, we just don't know when this is going to happen, but it's in our DNA. And that should be very encouraging to know that we can aspire and inspire ourselves and others to look at other people and ourselves in our highest nature. And so consciousness creates your reality through your thoughts, your words, and your speech, and your actions. And so it's vitally important to see that we can align us. Once we align ourselves to the highest truth, I dare say that it will come to a place where we will have no negative thought patterns. And we would see a whole new world in that regard when we're able to uplift and attain this higher state of consciousness by looking at the highest versions of ourselves. And so this is where the Gene Keys comes in. It offers the tool for our hologenetic profile. And this is a way to look into ourselves and to break the circuits that have been holding us back. So we have these different sequences. I'm just going to run this through quite quickly. So we have the genius that we're here. It's what we're here to do in life through the physical body. The Venus sequence is the next layer about our astral body, the emotional side, what holds us back, especially in our traumas from childhood, and how we can return non-love with love. We have the Pearl sequence, which is the higher state of the mental plane, mental sphere. And this is not just of the mind, it's in our cells and in our body too, and how we can be clear-headed, simple lucidity of mind and operate after we've done the heart work and the inner work. This is sort of the gains that we receive from doing all that inner work. And then finally we have, which hasn't come out yet or launched, this is the harmony stage, the star pearl, which the Gene Keys team are still working on behind the scenes. But this can also be seen as a sequence by itself. And according to my understanding and from certain spiritual traditions, this symbol, which you may see in other areas, is seen as the law of magnitude. It's like the law of magnet. So of being able to attract what will help you aspire to be living out your zenith. And so the activation sequence, I'll go this through in the live reading, but essentially you have these 4 different spheres, 4 different pillars that will help govern and help you be accountable and receive core stability when the going gets tough. And so in the Venus sequence, once you have those 4 pillars and they're protecting you, you're able to dive deeper through the different layers that protect you of your heart with these 6 different keys. And so then the Pearl sequence, this is releasing prosperity through service. Again, we have a triangle here, which forms at the base. And the core of this work, which again is a lot to go through here, but just to bring it out to simplicity as a screenshot, when we go through contemplation, the key thing is to pause and to create frequent pauses throughout our day. And by doing so, we will attain the conditions for transformation to occur. And it's best to approach this through a light touch, bring softness, and to look things with new eyes, listen with new ears, and to feel everything as if you're like an inner child again. And the more we can soften, the more we can distill and let go in the process. And this goes through accepting at a deeper level, which becomes an embrace, and meeting your fears head on, and sort of like knowing you're going along your path and your journey, and then along the side there's the drains and there's the water flowing. That's the fear, and to know that the fear will just pass into the drains. And the more we can realize this, the more that we know it's just an illusion and it's not real. So it's one thing to do this on the individual. The request, and I dare say it's the dare and demand, is now for the collective to be operating as one, and to meet and to make friendships with our allies, and to work in a way coherently so we can bring heaven back into earth. And this is partly one of the reasons why I'm doing these readings too, is so that we can then form communities, even if they're small, even if it's one-to-one, build the momentum and start bringing in our purpose as a whole, and to ask ourselves and to live out the question, how can I be of greater service to the whole? So it encompasses all this with the work, and it's a lifelong journey. So the art of contemplation, like I just briefly mentioned, is created from the mind as we pause and as we pivot into the emotions, especially the shadow realm, and then we merge it as one into the physical body, and then we attain all oneness, as it were. So this is the goal, and this is how we use it. And so I'll start with live readings. So everyone, is anyone of you guys here on Zoom who would like to go first?
I will go.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, Becky. Did you, I think you sent through an email, right?
I did, yeah.
Great. So have you got any questions?
The main thing that sprung to mind is around core stability. So I think we've just moved through Gene Key 4, haven't we? And that's my purpose.
Right,
And
yes.
just before that transit, I experienced like a real dark night of the soul. And I feel like I've been struggling with my core stability and just feeling really sensitive and isolating myself. And yeah, I'm not quite sure in terms of like in a Gene Keys reading how you would work with me on this, but yeah, that's what's kind of in the air at the moment with me.
Okay. Thank you, Becky, and thank you for bringing that to light and for sharing as well. So, just for those who are new or for those who are just coming on, we all have a profile that we can download, and as we download it, you'll receive 3 pages. The first page will show you the sequences that they operate on, and it's very important to go through, again, to understand what the words mean in bold, so they can by themselves, by just contemplating and giving yourself a pause to assess and just to let go, to see what comes up from these words of understanding and intolerance. Something can open up, and then these create a snapshot to help you open up in different ways, from the physical to the emotional and the mental realms. And then you'll have the main 4 pillars. So Becky, if you look, you can, I'm sure you've read this before, but if you even reread these paragraphs, they can also open up some scope as well as to what can help deeply fulfill you. And obviously, it's, in your case, Becky, it is about forgiving on a deeper level. And so when we forgive, we can offer us the tenderness and vulnerability to just let go. And the question is, well, how do you do that? And so the main point of focus is people will start with their life's work and their evolution. These are the places where what we're here to do. But when we go into the hidden realm, this is talking more about how we can listen more deeply into our bodies. And so purpose here is like the unraveling of the Russian dolls that will open up to all the different spheres that we see here in our profile. And so with each with each gene key, there is also these lines that connect to one another, just like the universe does this holographically, hence why it's called Hologenetic Profile. So Becky, when you look at your profile with your purpose and your radiance, you can also play with the words. So if there is a dark night, or a shadow pattern coming up, you may be going through a period of intolerance that will lead to a reaction, and then it will play its part like an Eden loop and a vicious cycle which can emerge. However, you can obviously always shift that by knowing that you are someone who will provide an impact. So in your radiant sphere, we have these different numbers that are called lines. There are 6 of them. And according to what I feel with the radiance, especially as an impact, there will be times where you'll want to be alone. There will be times where you'll want to partner with somebody or in a situation that to connect with. There will be times that you'll want to interact with other peoples and have exchanges and maybe go somewhere and travel a little bit to help you, give you the energy. And there will be times where you want to host. And then eventually you want to cultivate that as an impact from those experiences of what will help deliver you the freedom and the conditions that help you into those darker spaces. Now, the way out of the darker spaces obviously is to use your voice, whether it's in speaking engagements, whether it's in singing, whether it's whatever comes up. Generally, the key thing here is you want to be able to move, and the activity of movement flows from movement to light and then to sound. And so these sound and vibrations can help uplift you. It can also mean the voice of others through music that you can listen to help calm the body. And that calming of the body is offering you a space and a way to forgive. So listening to classical music or music that has high vibrations will help distill those patterns and then move you forward. And by doing so, it will then help you to realize, Do you want to dive a little bit more deeper? Is this more to do with your relationships, your inner relationships, or more to do with your outer work?
I feel like it's relationships. Yeah. Like I've been in the Gene Keys for about 2 or 3 years, and it's only really the activation sequence that I feel has fully opened up. So I feel like this is leading me into the Venus sequence in a whole deeper way, which I'm yet to.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I'll just keep it to the activation. So the activation is what we see in green. And with the evolution, this is also what other people see of you and what you see of other people. And the quickest way is how we can shift that. And it's the first place in our profile, which is like a trigger. So as a trigger, your line 3 is you're here to give without wanting an agenda. So just to give without an agenda, because if not, you may be becoming deaf to what you're hearing or seeing or feeling on the outside. And then you go back into the same patterns of what could be seen as mistakes, but they're not mistakes. They're just experiences that you're here to see and that will help enrich your life. And as they enrich your life, that's where you'll start to receive the insights and eventually an epiphany at a physical level. So there'll always be a drive, there'll always be an energy, because you always want to change new roles, try out new things, and that's wonderful. And so the encouragement here is just to keep doing these things, but without an agenda. In some ways, I would say, is if you're even going into the darkness, then allow yourself to just see what comes from the darkness rather than trying to get out of it. And because in it, the whole will offer you the scope to realize what comes out on the other end. It's sort of like going and using your torch to realize the torch will offer you the light, and the light always shines brightest in the darkest of places. So sometimes it's maybe this shadow and something that's being uncovered. Bring it to the light, without an agenda. Just sit with it and see what comes of that. And don't realize that's a mistake. Know that everything that is here and right now is perfect. And the more you can then do this as a giving without a condition and to do it unconditionally, it will also break you free of the suffering as a paradox, right? So otherwise you're going to start maybe going into a realm of complexity, and it's going to add more complications. But the idea is to reverse it. The simple things can have the most complex structures, but it's very easy to use and very simple to operate. And this way, it's the same thing with this profile and also in your life. The simple thing really is to give yourself the scope to pause and to use the suffering as a way of pausing too. And as you're maybe someone who maybe like to move around a lot and try out new things, maybe give that a go and just not try out new things. Maybe just to sit in that space for a little short time. Because in your relationships, in your attractive field, when you go into your Venus sequence, you can operate from the highest realm, which is seeing what the perfect relationship will look like. And it's just good to bring it back to seeing it like a child, like I mentioned, with new eyes, listen with new ears, so that the leadership qualities that you have in a relationship and that you offer, specifically to this key of 31, is just to be humble, is just not to try and fix things or not to see a perfect. The relationship that is with yourself or with the other person is perfect as it is. And it's just to be innocent again and to play and to take the back step and maybe operate behind the scenes. So you become like the viewer of your own story that operates as a play. And then when the curtains close and it goes back into darkness, you're still there. That's the line 6. It sees beyond what's going on in the present. It goes on past and into the future in a way. So it's a hard one because you'll always want the perfect relationship. But the key to this is to be patient, and the patience is got to be linked to trust. And for you to trust and to be patient, that's what is need to be given through by means of caring for yourself. And the caring is why we need to pause, especially when we're vulnerable. And the more we can be patient this way, the more we're going to be trusting in what comes about. So because then otherwise it will lead for you an expectation. An expectation could be a very a station of where we don't pass because we become a victim of that. And so the way out of it is to either work with the expectation so it serves you, or you let it go by feeling whatever comes up. Because in this key of the 42, it discusses that it's not one of distancing our feelings. It's rather going into them more deeply. And as you go into them more deeply, on the other side is you just don't care anymore because you've actually detached. And that's the key thing here. And that's also what I want to address with the 43 is with your energy and your experience is you just allow it to come into you. You don't try and wiggle away and escape because the line 3 will always want to escape. It's a slippery one. Whether it's physically, whether it's mentally as well, it will try and do this. And so you have this the key is to be flexible with your mind. The key is to be flexible with the way you protect it. And the best way is just to view it and to see it. So use your voice, and the voice will create the impact for you for the change to be made in a way. So you just got to give it time. And I know it's probably not the answer you're looking for, but it's what will create the conditions for a transformation. That's why it's important to pause. Whether you breathe, whether you go out in nature, whether you try something different, whether you when someone is going through a period of transformation, sometimes it's worthy to have a teacher with you to help you with the transition. And if that's not the case, sometimes it's also just important to be patient and to be gentle with oneself as an application tool to help you inquire more deeply into this work and to inquire more deeply into the behavioral patterns and the frequencies that are making you maybe feel intolerant. So the one liner is to be gentle, because when gentleness comes patience, comes trust, and starts to be giving out as something that doesn't need solving. The point of this work is to come to a space where you don't care if there's shadow patterns coming up. You actually go more deeply into this. And so, yeah, that's the invitation here is either work with it or let it go and just feel more deeply into it. And don't try and escape. Stay in the room. If you stay in the room, it's going to offer you the treasures to come out. And then you just give your attention to the gifts and the cities, even if they're just words. Ask yourself, Becky, what would it be for you to live a life where you can be simple and then you can give insights to yourself and to others? Or to be starting a revolution, not one from reaction, but one where it's going to create a rebirth and a change for others to live a life where there's forgiving and understanding in all conditions, in all states of mind. And that will be the leadership qualities that you'll help to give out to people, where there'll be purity of heart and they'll relate to in bliss, and there'll be a cause of celebration because you're working in compassion, and that will lead to an awakening for all humanity. Okay, I'm just playing with the words here, but you can create your own journey into this and create your own story and live that from the voice. The voice is also what we're maybe not listening to in ourselves, right? There's the voice of the ego and its many eyes, and this has been spoken of from different teachers and traditions, spiritual traditions. But can you stop and listen to the one eye, the truth, the inner voice, not the neighbor that's whining and complaining and wanting you to change because you don't like a situation? Can you sit more deeply into the voice that is Becky, the authentic one? Because your EQ is one of discrimination. It's the emotional wave that we all ride upon as a charge to help protect us. And the emotional wave that will help overcome, especially in the Gene Key 12, is to be authentic. And to be vain is when we identify with the thought patterns, with our words and with our actions. But when it comes to discrimination, is we let go of that which is not real and that which is a lie. We go to places where there is truth from a deeper level. And that is the purity. That is the core of this work. So find your voice, and you can do so by setting the conditions from others who have found their voices. And let that be the inspiration to help you find the fertility in you and open it up so you can then grow from that space. Yeah, there's no quick fix to this. It does take time, but I see it as a blessing. If you've gone to the darkest of places, it means there's going to be light coming on the other end. So stay with the process, be gentle with yourself, self-parent yourself with love, and look at your keys and look at what they're offering to you. Remember, this is light work. This is the work of the magic, white magic. And so when we look at these words and these numbers and these keys, they are offering us scope, and they're offering us a signal to go deeper into the heart. You know, find your vitality, bring out the bliss that's within you. Okay, you are a role model, and you will look for role models who have integrity. Integrity in this case means those who have grit, those who have passed through, those who have made their feet wet and gone to the other side. Now it's your journey. Your journey is offering the same scope. Your feet are getting wet. So know it's on the right, you're on the right path. You're on that path right now. Your pearl is 51. This is the warrior key. Okay, it's the key where people have not traveled before. It's the path least taken by others. And you're here to help others be recognized in the process. And by others being recognized, you become recognized. And that's the initiation. And this line that we go through, it's not here actually, but there is a line, there is a pathway that leads from the purpose all the way up to life's work. It's explained briefly in a paragraph or two in the activation, called the individuation line. An individuation line, it's your truth, it's your sword, and it will wander to the side, it will go to the other, a bit like a bamboo or a bit like a DNA wormhole. You're going as a snake up and weaving in and out between things. And for you, it's to go in the in-between spaces and then define that. So you can look at that as another way, as how can I operate from my truth, from my purpose in forgiveness, to be humble as a frequency, not as a behavior, as a frequency. And then that will open up to bliss and awakening. And then there'll be the quintessence. It's the essence of the essence. Okay, so it takes time. You know, it's like you have the coal and then you want to chip away at it from the rock so that you can see the diamond. And then the diamond in its simplicity holds a lot of complexity, but also it offers itself as a magnet to know that that diamond is in every one of us. And it's up to us to see how we can unfold that and to dig it up and to bring it out into the light. And then it will show itself as a mirror in its many facets and its many forms and its many expressions. And that becomes its quintessence. So I'm using all this as metaphor, but something that you can use for yourself, even if it's my voice speaking. See if that activates something within you so that the body starts to feel calm again, in a state of understanding, to know that what is happening is all for the right reasons, to let go of the old and to graft to what is something new and alive, like a plant. And then, Becky, you are going to be starting a revolution, because you'll be not doing it for one person. You're here to operate on the collective, and it uses the mental side. Okay, so line 5s tend to use the mental capacity. The 3s would like to use more the emotional side. So that's why maybe there's this irritation coming up. So listen. Otherwise, if you're not listening, you're going to be deaf. Okay, and it will start to ring louder and louder and louder. So give yourself the time and see what comes up.
Thank you so much. That was pure confirmation. I loved it. Really appreciate this offering, Costa. Thank you.
Pleasure. This will also be on a YouTube, on a replay. So please come back to that also for anyone else, because there'll be layers. There are layers behind this teaching. So yeah, it's here as a gift. Anyone else who would like to go?
I'd like to.
Sure. Thank you. Did you send through your?
I sent it to your email.
Okay. Great. And Jennifer, have you got any questions?
You know, I didn't do too badly with the initial, like, following of the keys, and then it got a bit confusing when the blues came out. Once the words, yes, intense, right? So I didn't really understand, you know, things like what emanation, what it means in life's work, and rapture, and maybe even the part freedom. Yeah.
Do you want me just to focus on this, because the other ones have been blanked out?
Oh, you know what? Like when I saved the PDF, I forgot to have the whole profile saved.
That's all right. We can do this. It's a good experiment anyway for those who want to operate in tight constraints of certain keys. They also form its own world, and so like I mentioned in my PowerPoint, or for those viewing this just now coming on, the Pearl sequence is the third layer, but again, you can also use this as the first layer. But it shows you the fluidity and simplicity behind what occurs in your body, especially in the mental state, once we've done the inner work, and it conforms many to how we operate as a service to the outside world once we've found our inner calling. And this is what the vocation is. It's the inner calling of once you've overcome all your suffering, right? Now, as beings, we may not be there yet because we still operate between different shadow patterns and we still have different gifts. But in the vocation, sorry, Jenny. So you're here, like, again, this gene key of expectation is you're here to either work with expectation or to let it go, and to realize at the highest realm, we're only here to celebrate. And what does that mean? This key is also very much involved with death. And so death is actually the celebration to know that birth and rebirth are just one as a cycle. And we are just operating between very small time frames between the two. And so because there's an illusion that we live and we die, the other way of looking at it is just die to the moment. And if we die to the moment, well, what's there left to do? Well, nothing, actually. So celebrate that. Celebrate every moment, because every moment is anew. Everything that's around us is ever changing. And so you're here to manage that in some ways, and to offer people the scope to realize their own potentials. So you have that grounding aspect to help govern, not in the sense of controlling, but in the sense of guiding people towards their vocation, their core vocation. And so your culture is the initiative is the resources that you have gained and experienced, and what's around you in your environment, and what you use as tools to bring about into your working culture, if it is your working culture. But it can be any culture, in fact. But specifically working in a working environment, you're here to dissolve the fantasy that is lying around, and people are maybe operating from this state that's not a reality. And so you will come into places in everyone's role, okay, such as those who are entrepreneurs, those who like to work in partnerships, those who like to work in units, those who like to work in bigger groups, and then networks. You will help every single individual in that process to give them the tools that will help them live out in celebration, or live out in emanation. Now, what is emanation? Emanation, it's like trying to explain the formless by using words, meaning it's the unfolding of the unmanifest, or the unfolding of the manifestations that arise in our lives. And so because the greater dream and the greater change that's happening on our planet right now, as prophesized by the Gene Keys, is there's going to be a new human being. There's going to be a tidal wave of emotions that will happen in the process. But the unfolding of that, if we learn to ride the wave, to know that there's only heaven that's going to be coming down onto earth, that's the emanation. That's the unfolding. I can't describe it because I don't know what that is yet, but that's the guidance and the direction that we're all going to, and that's going towards the light. And that's why we have to anticipate that. And anticipation is something that's encouraging. It will help uplift people. And that's also the lightness that you hear. I mean, look, the desire, the lower end, is the desire for the means that most of us see around us today. You know, I don't need to speak about them, especially the material means. You know, we want to find our lover, or we want to find more money, or we want to find what our career path is. Those are the lower round. Those are the lower desires. or the desires that will fulfill us. But once we have them, then the desire is not there anymore. We want another desire. So I'm looking at the highest desires, a bit like, you know, Eckhart Tolle. He has this key, rapture. It's where you're sitting on a bench and you're so much in a heightened state of awareness that you're in bliss. You know, it doesn't matter what's going on in the world. Where you are here now is full of life and full of lightness. And that's the freedom. And that's a celebration. I mean, you got celebration twice, right? So celebration means because you have all these lower desires that are not necessary, enjoy them. So if you got the money, buy your Ferrari. If you've got the cash to, I don't know, for whatever means, enjoy it. Go into 5-star, 3 Michelin restaurants. It doesn't matter, because all life is going in the direction it needs to take. And all you need to do is to just ride that wave, and that will lead you to freedom. And that's why, you know, a few laughters here is the humor, it's the pleasure. It's no, look, it's all a big joke. It's all a big joke, really. We don't need to blame other people. We don't need to accuse other people or ourselves or listen to that voice. There's many different voices of ours. There is a freedom that's going to come about from this. And we have to be warriors of light, and to help other people into that. So you can also use your different roles that you're operating, the same way you had with Becky, to follow this dream into freedom. And ask yourself, what is freedom to you? How can I attain that? How can I activate that? Well, I can tell you now, just look into your keys. Live by your keys. Live by celebration. Live by emanation, whatever that means for you. Live in rapture. Every day, every moment, create those conditions for that. You know, be the kid. Laugh at everything. Take everything in lightly, but tread lightly. Right? That's the key thing. So the pearl is a wonderful afterthought in some ways. I don't mean that to disregard it. I actually mean that it's what will happen once we have done this work, the inner work, the Venus, the activation. Because the activation, remember, it holds the keys for your pillars to ground you, to prepare the conditions to release the karma. Okay, so in the Gene Keys book, we have these codons. There are 21 of them. I would dare say there's actually 22, according to Michael Hayes, his book, The Infinite Harmony. Unfortunately, you can't buy it because it's out of print. But anyway, there's a 21 or 22, it doesn't matter. But anyway, the number 22 is a magical number, especially in the keys. It's literally discussing the science of suffering and going through these different portals of initiation. And these portals of initiation are there for us to let go of what is not needed. And so with the codon wheel, because they loop and they whirl around each other, the idea is to open them up. And as you open them up, this is what comes out in the pearl, is you receive these gifts. And these gifts is what you then offer to other people as a service. So no, it's always there in you. Once the inner calling is there, you're here to live from that space. So yeah, that's what I have to say for that.
Thanks, that was helpful.
Thank you. Is it Aisha? Aisha? Is that how we say your name?
Yeah, Aisha.
Aisha. Just bear with me, it's just loading. So Aisha, have you any questions?
Yeah, look, I'm only very, very new to this, so apologies for not really grasping it, but I can get the gist of it. So yeah, maybe just simpler words for me.
Okay, that's fine. So thank you for sharing your profile and coming up as well. So when you start this Gene Keys process, the Gene Keys, by definition, can be seen as universal codes that can help open you up to living out at your highest zenith and into your potential, so that everything we see around us is a means to either transform something, especially when the going gets tough, and to know that every suffering serves as a teaching to turn the tides and to transform them, a bit like alchemy from lead into gold. So every word that you see here on your profile offers scope to help bring about that transformation. And that's why we use contemplation as a means to see it as a field for transformation, and it's endless. And so that these words that we can percolate in our minds as we go on walks and being in nature and taking a breath will serve as an inquiry process to see what's beneath that. And as we go and tread this path lightly, we go through the shadows, because through the shadows is the light and is the sun. And so each position of these keys is operating from different planets that rotate and orbit around our solar system. And there's sidereal astrology to this work, a part of it. So there are many layers behind this. And so when we look at our life's work, Aisha, again, I mean, the word forgetting here is maybe we've forgotten ourselves, we've forgotten our highest potentials here. But the idea is to know that in the forgetting lies the gift, right? So every shadow contains the gift, or to be more precise, every gift is through the shadow. And so then everything will be revealed to you. So it involves this key involves something of seeing. It's about seeing. It's about being able to view things and see them for what they really are. And that's how you can maybe be seen as a teacher, to help other people see their potentials and how to be mindful. And so, there's a Buddhist meditation called Vipassana. It's mentioned in this key. That may be something of interest to you, to help close down the eyes and to not speak, and again to bring your attention inwards, because the revelations will come. Because all the answers, again, this is just a tool. The Gene Keys are just a tool. All the answers are within us. And this is also the request for you to surrender, Aisha, because when you surrender, you'll remove yourself from the codependent patterns, whether it's in the physical, whether it's in your relationships, and to bring about an inner space, and to not forget the biggest dream and the highest dream, that there is heaven coming to earth. And so as you do so, you will then learn to be more sensitive with yourself and other people around you. And eventually this key is also one that is very much linked to Jesus Christ's consciousness and what he had done previously by sacrificing his body and the sins of the collective to bring about new conditions to the world. And so I'm not suggesting you do that, but just to know in line that there are those, unless you're prepared for that, but unless you're, there's a higher set of consciousness that governs and helps you with that. But the idea is to devote yourself to a highest goal, to the dreams that will help serve humanity. And it involves surrender. And in contemplation, it's in between the two pathways of what's discussed as concentration and mindfulness. So mindfulness is the path of, in some ways, of having no effort, where you can be washing your dishes and you'll receive, the aha moments. And then there's the effort involved, like in yoga, where you are staying in certain positions for a longer period of time. And eventually you may attain enlightenment that way. And enlightenment being is the fire within you starts to show itself outside, and you see all the logs and think, oh, I want to make that person start to fire up his potentials. And so as they come closer to you with their aura and your aura, they will lighten up as well. And so that all you see is just bliss. All you see is purity. Again, you have the purity here. So to make it practical, you will go through all the different stages as a teacher. So a life's work, you have the creator has one role. A line 2 is the dancer. 3 is, so you dance, there's no effort involved. So the line 3 is the change maker, line 4 is the server, the line 5 is the one who provides the solutions as a leader, and then you're the teacher. So you operate again also from the mind, and you are here to change the way people think, okay, through a trickling effect, like droplets of water, like a drip feed. So you're here to slowly drop those golden nuggets as truth. And as you do so, you can use your posture to help relieve any tensions or pains that come through in flow, like maybe using Tai Chi in some ways, and that will help orientate you in your life to help bring about these triplets of wisdom as teachings, or as a teacher during these times or these times ahead. And it will again also require you deep patience, and I don't say that lightly. Deep patience means you would die to that, to what is true. Sort of like a devotee, somebody who's devoted, somebody who commits. Okay, somebody who does things half-heartedly will say they do something and then they may not show up, or maybe they come late or something, or an hour too late. They're not very serious about the work. Somebody who's wholeheartedly committed will be there on time. Okay, they'll come up every single day. But somebody who's devoted is somebody who dies to that, no matter what. And I say this because your SQ is your spiritual quotient. It's for everyone who has it. Everyone does have it. It's how open your heart is, and as a way of expressing its intelligence. And it will require patience for you for that to unravel. And again, because it's got the 12th key, the 12th key is also, we have these codon wheels, like I expressed, and they involve different themes. And this theme is the trial, the ring of trials. And every human being will come to these ring of trials at the end of their journey into awakening. And the 12th gene key happens to be the last place, the last shadow that everyone will have to overcome. And that's vanity, the identification with thought, with word and actions that do not serve you anymore. And that's why it requires time and space. Space also, because space is healing. Space is what nurtures us, and it's also what connects us. So giving yourself the conditions for this through the pause, through contemplation, through surrender, through transformation, it'll open you up. Now, it's also interesting to note that some of you guys have very similar keys here. So I'm seeing universal universal themes coming up. So again, you got revolution here. That's interesting. So again, you're here to provide a revolution for humanity, same as Becky. Well, we all are, but this is what you're going to attract in your life, whether it's your primary relationship or others, and be able to be playful with that, not to be over serious, just to see, how can I be creative in this process, that I can bring about this inner wild, warrior in me to create the conditions for heaven back here on earth. That's what I see. So I hope that helps you, Aisha. This is just a little insight. Have you got any other questions that you would like to ask? I know I've just gone a bit on a tangent. Does that help you?
Yes, it has. Is there a book, or which book would actually go into deeper detail? Because I know there was a whole stack of them on your website.
Yes, so there's Gene Keys. This is like an older book cover. You got the Gene Keys book. You've got the 64 Ways, which are journey journeys from Rudd, the founder, his contemplations into that, which can also offer up some scope for breakthroughs in the process. You also got the Living Library as a resource that you can use on genekeys.com. And you've also got the Art of Contemplation as a book, as a secondary, resource. The key information will be found in the Gene Keys book alone, as it's a code book of consciousness. And the more that you commit to it by allowing yourself to contemplate with that every single day, it will open up the conditions for a breakthrough. And when that happens, it will quicken the process on an individual level. So whatever is coming up in your life, you can revert back to your profile. You can open up any page of the Gene Keys book and just see what comes up intuitively. And if you use your right brain intuitive functions more to feel your way into this journey, into these teachings, something might come up more. And as that comes up more, it's requiring your attention to go there. And as your attention goes there, I recommend to flow with that, because when you flow with that, Aisha, you're going to find the freshness. You will find the beauty in that. And freshness never goes old, right? So give it time, and just play with the work. Don't take it too seriously, and just see what comes from that. So, yeah.
Thank you.
So we are just coming to the hour, so I'm just going to finish off quickly with last minute details. And thank you all for being here today. So obviously there have been a few case studies. I'm not going to go through these, but as a little gift for you guys, if you want to know more, you've got the different sequences. It's called the Golden Path that you can purchase online on genekeys.com. Comes down to about £350 or $400 as a self-study program. That's quite beneficial, and I recommend them as well. I'm also offering personal readings of what they mean and how you can activate your purpose on a deeper level. And normally I charge about $150, but as you guys are on here, I will be offering this as a donation, as a gift, to help you explore this in more detail and for you to activate these keys into your life so that you can start to receive more breakthroughs. So if you are interested, you can go to Costa.global. And then you can also just, follow me on social, and spread the word. The reason I want this to be spread out the word is also not just to get my name known, but just to help other people in these times ahead, because I do believe there's going to be a lot of changes. There'll be a lot of turbulent times, and people will need a place to help overcome their shadows. And so by doing so, it helps them know that they are geniuses in their own light. And by helping support one another, we can help make a difference in this world. So many thanks, everyone, for being here today. I do appreciate you guys. And if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out. And this will also be on YouTube as a replay. So yeah, much love, everyone. And I hope to see you guys soon.
Thank you.